Thank you for stopping by. Today I'm working on this Kawasaki FH601V 19.0 with a no start problem. I'm going to show you how I go about fixing it. This engine is off a Toro 0 turn, and I'll be doing some other general maintenance on it. Again, it's a Kawasaki FH601V 19.0. I'll be doing some other maintenance on this, such as changing the oil filter, adjusting the valves, and I'll be sharpening the blades on this. I was told the blades weren't sharpened since they can't remember when. You can see how I have this all chucked up, the wheels, and there's a reason for it. I have this up on the ramps, and to get under there, I have to remove this ramp. To remove this ramp, I have the mower jacked up. Let me get a better view here. The jack stands underneath. I have to raise that one a little bit more. The weight is on one ramp on the other side, the jack, and I'm going to remove this ramp to get underneath it. You can see how I have it chucked up back here. I have this 2x4 under the bumper, so if those chucks should slip, the tractor's not going to go back. I'm working out here alone. I want to make sure this doesn't fall on me. And back to the blades. This doesn't look too bad under here for something that hasn't been serviced. If it's been a while since you changed your blades or sharpened your blades, they're going to be a little tough getting those bolts out. One, you might want to clean it up a little bit with a brush. And once you have the blades out, clean up under the deck. You're under here anyway. So I'm going to get this ramp out, get these blades out, remove that rope that's tangled up in there, clean and sharpen these blades, put them back on, and then go to the other side to get the third blade off. Can't reach the third blade from there. And you want to wear gloves doing this. When you're removing these blades or just cleaning it, you can really mess up your hands. So put on a pair of gloves before you get into it. If you don't have access to an impact wrench, get yourself a pair of clamps, C-clamps, or a vice grip, and you can mount it right here. Once you have the clamp or the vice grip mounted to that, it'll keep the blade from spinning when you're using a breaker bar or a socket and a ratchet wrench to get it out. So now, let me get started. These are two of the blades after I cleaned them, sharpened them, and balanced them. Now I have to get these back on and get to the other side of the deck. Once I have the other blade clean, sharpened, and balanced and installed, I'll get to the carburetor. I have the carburetor removed, and I know it's a fuel flow issue because when we spray carburetor cleaner into the carburetor with the choke opened while the owner's cranking it up, the engine runs. So we have compression, we have spark, but as soon as that carburetor cleaner is burnt up, the engine stops. Now, I worked on this carburetor a year ago, but I have a few pictures that I'll post to show you what I found inside of it last year. And the first thing was to take this off, the anti-kickback solenoid, and when I took it off, this was all caked up all around here, and this wasn't working. So what was happening was that this plunger being out was keeping the fuel from flowing into the carburetor. Now I cleaned this up a little bit. I pressed down on it because it just wouldn't go in. So I pressed down on it, turned it a few times to see if I could free it up. I believe this goes for $157 plus shipping and tax. And none of the anti-kickback solenoids I have from any of the other carburetors fit. This diameter over here is too thick. So I have this battery jumper that we're going to check this out with to show you that it currently works. What we'll do, we'll connect to the positive side. Here's the negative. Turn the power on. I'm trying to do this and keeping it in focus. And when we make contact, we want to see this plunger pull in. Okay, we got it to work. By freeing this up, we saved almost $170 for this little piece right here. I'm going to pull this carburetor apart again to see if we have any issues in here. And whether we do or don't, I'm going to clean out all these orifices with my little wire and some carburetor cleaner. Down here we have a Phillips head screws. And remember the orientation, where everything just clip to the left side of the carburetor. So I'm just going to unscrew these screws and then I'll be back. I always work over a container, so if there's a spring, anything that should pop out of here, or any gas leakage, there won't be any gas in here now because I had this opened. Well, let's see. I want to be careful not to mess up any of these gaskets. If I could, I like to use the same gaskets again, unless they need replacing. What's holding me up here? Let's see. Just a snug fit. It's that dried gas. See you can see that the gasket's stuck on here. So I want to gently pull it out. There we go. This way it doesn't rip. That gasket could be used again. And here we are. All right. It's not looking too bad. Okay, we're looking good. It looks like there might be just a little. Yeah, it's just very little sediment on the bottom there. I'm going to pull this off so we don't get any carb cleaner on it. And let's see what we have here. I'm going to pull these two jets out. See what they look like. I'm going to use the wire to poke through here, spray it through with the cleaner. I'm going to do one side. I'm going to clean out in here. I'm going to clean all these out. Up in here. This is a double barrel carburetor. I feel like I'm working on an old Chevy. We have holes up in here that I'm going to poke through and spray. We have this emulsion tube that I'm going to check. On the bottom here it looks good. Should be good on top. I have to get this out and clean these out over here. Sometimes these could be a little difficult getting them out. If they don't pop out right away with a screwdriver, if you could get a small Allen wrench in there, you can push down on it like that. And then we'll check the needle and seat here. Let's see. Well, I'm going to do this in stages, one part at a time. If I find any debris in here, I'll show it to you. I show you the process I'm going to do. If everything goes well with this clean out, the next part of the video you'll see this reinstalled into the engine, and then I'll get on to the oil change and the rest of the maintenance. Now, I thought the oil change on this would be a snap. What a nightmare. First of all, this piece over here is where the oil comes out, and I couldn't get anything on here. A screwdriver, nothing would go in there that I could open it up with. A socket wouldn't work on it. I couldn't get a vice grip on it. I couldn't get pliers on it. I thought maybe an Allen wrench would fit in there. Nothing. So finally what I did, we're changing the oil filter anyway. I pulled this oil filter out. It goes a little lower than that, and this made a mess. Oil goes all over the place with this thing, and you can see where that went. I was able to screw that out entirely. Now I'm going to screw that back in, but it's got to be a better way to do that. The owner isn't here right now, but I'm thinking about putting an extension in there, a nipple, but I want to do that without his okay. So for now, I'm just going to put that back in, try and clean up this mess over here. I used a 33-gallon barrel. I cut the bottom off to catch the oil. I'm very careful about not spilling oil. Some of these machines, man, it's just a mess the way everything comes out. So for now, that's it with the oil change. If I get to it today, the next step will be adjusting the valves on this unit. After that, I'm done. I'm just going to give the steps on how to adjust these valves. I've been on this machine for the better part of the day now, and it's just taking way too long. Ran into a few problems I didn't expect. First of all, when you take this cover off, have a cloth down here, something to catch oil. The other side didn't have any oil spill. This side had a couple of drops. Now I do have this jacked up, so it is leaning forward. The specs on these valves are between 0.4 and 0.6. The other side I had to adjust, but before you adjust them, remove the spark plugs on both sides. It makes it easier to turn this engine over by hand. When you're turning the engine over, you want to get it to top dead center. Use a straw. This way you don't have to worry about bending a screwdriver in there or breaking a pencil tip in there or a piece of wood. Okay, get a straw into the spark plug hole, and as you're turning the engine on top, you feel the straw coming up. When it starts going down again, you know it's past the top dead center. Now there's two top dead centers on here. You want to make sure you get the right one, and the way you know it's right is that both of these valves will be loose. I used to time the valves with one valve being tight, one valve being open, but reading up on it, this is the better way to do it because there is a little overlap. Now on this over here, I don't have to make any adjustment. 005 just makes it in a little loose. 006 goes in, and 007 doesn't fit. The other side, 007, was a little on the loose side. Might have been 08, 008. Same thing with the bottom. 07 doesn't make it, and 06 has a little drag on it. That's close. 07 doesn't fit, so that's close enough to the 006. I'm going to tighten this back up, clean up this oil mess from before, and run this a little bit. This way, if there's any oil that's dripping, I want to know about it before I leave. And that's a wrap. This was just a quick video. Really didn't get into too much detail on how to do it. So if you have any questions, post them down below. If you enjoyed this video, give it a like. If you haven't done so already, subscribe. Hit that Joe Z button. And not to miss any of my new videos as I upload them. You don't want to miss them. Hit that bell icon. And until next time, stay safe.